The sun shone brightly over the quiet suburban neighborhood, casting a golden light on the streets lined with green trees and colorful flowers. Birds chirped in the distance, and the gentle hum of a lawnmower could be heard from a nearby yard. Today was a special day for one family, one they had been waiting for with excitement and hope. After months of being away, a soldier had finally returned home. He had been far from this peaceful place, facing challenges, dangers, and uncertainty. Now, he was back, and the thought of seeing his family filled him with warmth. The driveway was crowded with cars, as relatives and friends had gathered to welcome him. Children ran around laughing, chasing each other with boundless energy, their voices echoing through the neighborhood. The smell of food drifted from the backyard where a barbecue had been set up. The sizzle of meat on the grill mixed with the aroma of freshly baked bread, creating a comforting, homely atmosphere. Balloons and colorful decorations fluttered in the gentle breeze, giving the yard a festive feel. Every detail seemed perfect for a reunion that everyone had longed for. Inside the house, the family moved about with a mixture of nervous excitement and joy. The soldier's mother paced lightly, checking that everything was ready, her heart beating fast with anticipation. She glanced at the clock, counting down the minutes until she would see her child, the one who had been away, serving his country with bravery and dedication. The father stood by the window, peering out occasionally, his eyes scanning the street, hoping to catch the first glimpse of the car that would bring him home. Both parents shared a silent, unspoken bond, a mix of pride and relief that their child was finally returning. The children, too young to fully understand the sacrifices involved in the soldier's work, felt the excitement in the air. They decorated the yard with handmade signs and banners, proudly displaying their creativity. One little hand held a crayon-colored flag, shaking it with enthusiasm whenever the wind allowed. Their laughter was contagious, filling the house with joy that seemed almost tangible. Every corner of the home reflected the anticipation and happiness that had built up over months of waiting. Finally, the moment came. The car pulled into the driveway, and a cheer went up from everyone present. The soldier stepped out, dressed in his uniform, standing tall and composed. His eyes shone with emotion as he looked around, taking in the sight of his family and friends. Every step he took toward the house seemed to carry a weight of experiences and memories from faraway places. Yet he moved with ease, as though the joy of returning home lifted every burden. Children ran to him first, their small hands reaching for hugs, pulling at his legs and arms with excitement. The soldier knelt down, wrapping them in warm embraces, laughing as they clung to him. Their joy was pure and unreserved, a reflection of the innocence that made the world seem brighter. The parents joined in, holding him tightly, tears of relief and pride running down their faces. Friends and extended family followed, each greeting him with a mixture of admiration and affection. The house was alive with energy, every voice joining in the chorus of welcome. As the day went on, stories were shared, laughter echoed, and memories were recalled. The soldier told tales of distant lands and challenging missions, carefully choosing words that conveyed his experiences without frightening the younger ones. Family members listened intently, eyes wide with curiosity, imagining the bravery and courage it took to face what he had faced. The conversations flowed naturally, filled with warmth, connection, and a sense of belonging that only home could provide. The smell of barbecue filled the air as everyone gathered around the table. Plates were passed, conversations continued, and the sound of clinking cutlery mixed with laughter. The soldier enjoyed the simple pleasures of home, savoring every bite of food that reminded him of family dinners and ordinary days that once seemed so routine. The children tugged at his sleeve, eager to show him their drawings and crafts, each one a small piece of their world that he had missed. He listened patiently, nodding and smiling, genuinely interested in their stories and proud of their creativity. Outside, the sun began to dip toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the yard. The children continued to play, their laughter ringing louder as the evening approached. Some neighbors, drawn by the noise, stood at a distance watching the gathering with curiosity. The soldier noticed a few of them exchanging polite nods, not wanting to disturb the joy of the family reunion. Everything seemed peaceful, almost perfect, as though nothing could go wrong on this long-awaited day. But as the family enjoyed the warmth of togetherness, a subtle tension began to emerge. A small group of neighbors started making comments, first in hushed tones, then louder as they noticed the soldier in his uniform. Their words were mocking, belittling, and cruel, aimed not just at the soldier but also at the family who had gathered to celebrate. The children noticed the change in tone, sensing the unease but not fully understanding it. The soldier, however, recognized it immediately, feeling a familiar tightness in his chest that reminded him of discipline and control. He took a deep breath, standing tall, his posture strong and calm. He knew that reacting with anger or violence would only make things worse. Instead, he focused on his family, ensuring that they felt safe and supported. The mother moved closer, sensing his protective stance, while the father positioned himself slightly ahead, ready to intervene if necessary. The children clung to their parents, their eyes wide, confused by the sudden shift in mood. Despite the unpleasant remarks, the soldier remained composed. He remembered the lessons learned during his service: patience, courage, and the importance of maintaining dignity in the face of disrespect. He smiled gently at the children, whispering words of reassurance, and continued to engage with the family. Every moment he spent with them became a shield, a way to protect the joy and love that had brought them all together on this special day. As the evening continued, the tension lingered like a shadow over the gathering. The soldier's presence was commanding yet calm, a silent reminder that he was not to be underestimated. The family drew strength from his demeanor, finding courage in his unwavering resolve. Though the mocking neighbors attempted to disrupt the celebration, the soldier's focus remained on what mattered most: the love, safety, and happiness of his family. The sun finally set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. The yard was filled with laughter, conversation, and the comforting sounds of a family reunited. The soldier stood at the center, a pillar of strength, pride, and love. The challenges of the day, though unexpected, could not overshadow the beauty of the moment. It was a day that would be remembered, not for the mockery or the tension, but for the courage, resilience, and deep connection shared among family. This was the beginning of a reunion that would be cherished forever, a reminder that even in the face of disrespect, love and unity could prevail. The soldier had just begun to settle into the warmth of home when the mood in the yard began to change. At first it was subtle. A few neighbors standing across the street whispered to one another, their heads tilted in disapproval as they glanced at the soldier. They exchanged smirks and rolled their eyes as if the celebration was something they found amusing or even offensive. The soldier noticed them but kept his focus on his family, smiling at a little cousin who had rushed over with a handmade card. He tucked the tension away, refusing to let it ruin the day, but the whispers soon became louder, carrying across the yard. The first words hit like small stones, sharp and unnecessary. "Look at him," one neighbor sneered, "thinking he's a hero." Another laughed, louder this time, making sure the soldier could hear. Their comments were not just disrespectful to the soldier, but also cruel toward the family who had gathered to celebrate. The children, oblivious at first, began to sense the unease. Their laughter faltered and small frowns appeared on their faces. Parents exchanged worried glances, understanding that something was amiss but unsure of how to address it. The soldier's heart tightened, but he maintained his calm. Years of training had taught him to stay composed, even in the face of provocation. He took a deep breath, inhaling the familiar sense of home and the sounds of his family's voices. He looked at his siblings and cousins, seeing their confusion and fear. He wanted to protect them, to shield them from the harshness of the outside world, but he also knew that standing still, showing restraint, was a powerful way to demonstrate strength. The neighbors did not stop. Their mockery grew bolder. They began to mimic his walk, the way he saluted in uniform, and even the tone of his voice when speaking. Their laughter was cruel, echoing across the yard. One of the adults stepped closer to the fence, pointing a finger and making jokes about the soldier's service. The soldier's mother, sensing that the situation could escalate, moved closer to the children, wrapping her arms around them and whispering comforting words. The father took a small step forward, his expression protective, ready to intervene if necessary. Despite the unpleasantness, the soldier chose not to respond with anger. He remembered the people he had served with, the discipline instilled in him during long missions and difficult times. He focused on maintaining his dignity and composure, understanding that responding with aggression could only escalate the conflict. Instead, he used a quiet confidence, standing tall and steady, letting his presence alone convey strength. His calmness sent a clear message: he would not be shaken, and he would not allow the negativity to take away the joy of his family reunion. The children watched closely, learning from the soldier without even realizing it. They saw how he controlled his emotions, how he stood firm without causing harm. They felt the safety that his presence provided, even as the neighbors continued to hurl insults. It became a lesson in courage and patience, teaching them that bravery was not only about fighting battles far away, but also about standing strong at home in the face of disrespect. The neighbors, growing frustrated at the soldier's lack of reaction, started to change their approach. They shouted louder, hoping to provoke a response. Their words were sharp, filled with contempt, targeting both the soldier and his family. The children clung tighter to their parents, some retreating to the safety of the house. The atmosphere shifted, the joyful energy of the reunion now mixed with tension and discomfort. The soldier remained composed, aware that any sudden movement or angry word could escalate the situation. He kept his eyes on his family, on the little ones who looked to him for protection. The soldier's father took a deep breath and stepped closer to the fence, addressing the neighbors in a calm but firm voice. He reminded them that this was a private celebration, a family gathering, and that their words were unwelcome. The neighbors, however, only laughed and mocked further, not taking the warning seriously. The soldier's mother moved to the front, her voice steady but soft as she spoke to the children, telling them that they were safe and loved, that the soldier's strength would protect them. Her words were a small shield, a barrier against the cruelty that threatened to intrude on their special day. The soldier, realizing that the situation could spiral further, began to take action without confrontation. He guided the children back toward the center of the yard, creating a protective circle around them and the adults closest to him. He encouraged his family to focus on the celebration, on the stories, laughter, and love that filled the home. Slowly, they returned to the table, resuming conversations and activities, though the tension in the air remained palpable. The soldier's presence was a constant reassurance, a reminder that they were not alone. Throughout the ordeal, the soldier reflected on his experiences in the military. He thought of the challenges he had faced, the missions that required courage, patience, and teamwork. He realized that the principles he had learned abroad were just as relevant at home. Protecting loved ones, standing firm in the face of disrespect, and showing strength without aggression were lessons that could guide him through any situation. His mind remained clear, his emotions controlled, and his focus unwavering. The neighbors, frustrated by their inability to provoke the soldier, eventually shifted to subtle, passive-aggressive comments, muttering under their breath but keeping a distance. The children, encouraged by the soldier's calmness, began to play again, though cautiously. The adults in the family exchanged grateful looks, silently acknowledging the soldier's composure and the safety it brought. The yard slowly returned to a semblance of normalcy, though the earlier tension lingered like a shadow, a reminder of the world outside the family's circle. As the day continued, the soldier made sure to engage his family fully, telling stories of his experiences, asking about their lives, and listening with genuine interest. He laughed with the children, played games, and shared meals, ensuring that the negative energy outside could not touch the warmth and love inside. His family drew strength from him, inspired by his patience, courage, and unwavering calm. The soldier's presence transformed the day back into one of celebration, proving that even in the face of mockery, love, unity, and strength could prevail. Evening approached, and the sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting long, soft shadows across the yard. The children resumed their games, more confident now, knowing that they were protected. The soldier's parents sat nearby, holding hands, proud and grateful for the way their child had handled the situation. The soldier remained at the center, a quiet, steady presence ensuring that the family's happiness was not stolen. The neighbors watched from a distance, their laughter silenced, their attempts to disturb the peace thwarted by the soldier's calm strength. The day's events, though unsettling, became a lesson for the family. They learned that courage was not only about facing danger in faraway lands, but also about standing firm at home, protecting loved ones, and remaining composed in the face of disrespect. The soldier's actions spoke louder than words, teaching the children and reminding the adults that true strength came from patience, love, and integrity. The family embraced each other, their bonds stronger for having faced the challenge together, and the soldiers' calm determination left an imprint on everyone present, a reminder that even the smallest acts of courage at home could make a powerful difference. The afternoon had been filled with laughter, stories, and the comforting smell of food, but the calm was starting to feel fragile. The soldier noticed that the neighbors' mockery had not disappeared completely, though they had stopped approaching too closely. Their whispered comments and pointed looks reminded him that tension still lingered. The children, sensing the uncertainty, occasionally paused in their play, their eyes darting toward the street. The soldier understood that the moment was delicate. He could feel the weight of responsibility pressing on him, not only for himself but for the family that trusted him completely. He stepped closer to his siblings and cousins, crouching down to their level. His voice was soft but firm as he reassured them that everything would be okay. "Don't worry," he said, his eyes meeting theirs with steady warmth. "We are together, and nothing can change that." The children nodded, still a little frightened but comforted by his presence. His calmness acted like a shield, creating a small bubble of safety amid the unease. The soldiers' parents exchanged worried glances, silently communicating that they were grateful for his strength. They could see how naturally he had taken control of the situation, how he instinctively knew what to do to protect everyone. The father took a deep breath and returned to the table, making sure the children were seated nearby. The mother continued to offer gentle words and gestures, smoothing the tension in small ways. Though the neighbor's presence was a shadow, the family refused to let it dominate their celebration. The soldier took a moment to step back and assess the situation. He remembered how in the military, when tension rose on a mission, remaining calm and reading the environment carefully was crucial. He applied the same principle now, understanding that a single wrong move could escalate the situation unnecessarily. His gaze swept over the yard, the street, and the distant neighbors. They were watching, waiting for some reaction, but he would not give them the satisfaction. Instead, he would focus on the family, ensuring that they felt the love and safety that had been the center of the day. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, the soldier's presence remained commanding, yet unassuming. He encouraged games and activities that could engage the children fully, keeping their attention on fun rather than fear. A few moments of laughter returned as the children built small forts with chairs and blankets, pretending they were exploring distant lands. The soldier joined in, creating stories and scenarios that captivated their imagination. The little ones became engrossed, their joy returning piece by piece, though they remained close to the adults. The soldier's quiet authority had created a space where happiness could exist even in tension. The neighbors, growing impatient with the soldier's lack of reaction, began to increase their efforts to disrupt the gathering. They yelled taunts across the street, their voices sharper and louder than before. The soldier's ears caught the words, and he felt a small surge of frustration. Yet he resisted the impulse to respond aggressively. Years of discipline had taught him that patience could be more powerful than force. Instead, he took another deep breath, letting the tension slide off like water over a shield. His family's safety and the joy of the moment were far more important than proving a point. His mother quietly moved closer to the soldier, brushing a hand against his arm. She whispered that she trusted him, that they were all safe because of him. Her words grounded him, reinforcing the connection and trust that ran through the family. The father nodded from across the yard, a silent affirmation that they were together in facing this challenge. The soldier's calm strength was mirrored in the family around him, a shared resolve that held firm against the negativity. The soldier then decided to shift focus. He invited the children to help set up a small picnic on the grass, passing out plates, napkins, and snacks. They eagerly participated, their hands busy with simple tasks, their minds engaged in creating something together. The act of organizing, laughing, and working as a team redirected their attention from the tension outside. The soldier supervised with care, praising their efforts and encouraging cooperation. It was a simple but powerful strategy. Keep them occupied, keep them safe, and keep the families happy. Even as the children played and helped, the neighbors' voices continued to drift across the street. They mocked, snickered, and shouted, but the soldier remained a steady presence, unshaken. He occasionally glanced toward them, acknowledging their existence without giving them power. Each glance was measured, controlled, a reminder that he could address the situation if needed, but he chose restraint. His discipline created a buffer, an invisible wall that separated the family's joy from the hostility outside. The evening sky turned shades of orange and pink, and the family slowly gathered around the picnic area. Conversations resumed, quieter at first but gradually gaining warmth. The soldier shared small stories of his travels and experiences, careful to keep them light and appropriate for the children. He asked about their day, their games, and the little accomplishments they were proud of. Laughter began to return, blending with the soft chirping of birds and the distant hum of traffic. The tension was still there, a low presence at the edges, but it no longer dominated the yard. The soldier's parents reflected on how much he had changed during his service. They realized that the calm, measured approach he had learned in difficult and dangerous situations abroad could be applied here, in their own neighborhood, to protect them. The family felt a deep sense of gratitude and pride, recognizing that the soldier was not just brave in battle but brave in life, in protecting those he loved without violence, and in maintaining dignity when faced with disrespect. The children, now more relaxed, began to play nearby, occasionally glancing at the neighbors but returning to their games quickly. They learned that courage could be quiet, that strength could be measured not by anger but by patience and protection. The soldier encouraged them, explaining gently that people sometimes act unkindly out of ignorance or fear, and that standing firm and calm was often the best way to respond. The lesson was subtle, but it sank deep into their understanding. The neighbors, realizing their attempts were ineffective, eventually slowed their jeers. Their frustration was evident, but the soldier's calm and the family's focus on joy made their efforts meaningless. The yard returned to a sense of peace, though the memory of the tension lingered as a reminder of the outside world. The soldier remained vigilant, ensuring that the family could continue their gathering without fear. As night approached, the air grew cooler, and the family began to tidy up the picnic area. The soldier's parents praised him silently, proud of the example he had set. The children hugged him tightly, grateful for his protection and inspired by his courage. The soldier felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that he had not only kept them safe but had also taught them a valuable lesson about resilience, patience, and love. The day ended with smiles, warmth, and a stronger bond between the family members. The soldier's presence had turned a potentially negative situation into an opportunity for teaching, protection, and connection. Even with the tension from the neighbors lingering in the background, the family felt united, stronger than ever, and ready to face whatever challenges might come together. The day had been long, and the family had slowly adjusted to the tension in the air, finding moments of laughter and joy amid the whispers and stares of the neighbors. The soldier remained a steady presence, guiding the family with calm and patience. But suddenly a new sound cut through the background noise. It was faint at first, a distant roar that made heads turn and ears perk up. Helicopters. The soldier's eyes narrowed as he scanned the street and the skies above. His instincts, sharpened over years of training, immediately recognized the familiar signs of a highly trained team approaching. The neighbors, unaware of what was coming, continued their muttering and sideways glances. They did not realize that the soldier had connections, comrades who had served alongside him in challenging missions far from home. Within moments, vehicles pulled up at the edge of the neighborhood, and a group of men and women stepped out with precise coordination and silent authority. They were SEALs, his friends and fellow warriors, ready to support him in any situation. The soldier's family looked on in awe and confusion. Their hearts raced, unsure of what to expect, but trusting the soldier completely. The SEALs approached with calm confidence, each movement deliberate and disciplined. Their presence immediately shifted the energy of the yard. The children, still holding on to their parents, watched with wide eyes, sensing the power and reassurance radiating from these trained individuals. The soldier himself stood tall, a small smile crossing his face as he recognized the familiar faces of his comrades. The neighbors froze, caught off guard by the sudden arrival. They had expected a calm, ordinary day, perhaps some confrontation, but nothing like this. The sight of the SEALs, their disciplined and commanding presence, was enough to silence any further mockery. Their previous confidence faded, replaced by unease and recognition that they were outmatched. The soldier did not need to speak. The arrival alone sent a clear message. This was no ordinary man, and he was not alone. The SEALs moved in a calm, professional manner, forming a subtle protective perimeter around the soldier and his family. There was no aggression, no hostility, just the quiet assurance that those he cared for were now safe. The soldier's parents breathed a sigh of relief, understanding that the invisible weight of fear that had been hanging over the yard was finally lifting. The children, sensing the safety, began to relax, curiosity overtaking their fear. They watched as the SEALs moved with precision, marveling at the discipline and skill that seemed almost otherworldly. The soldier greeted each of his comrades with brief nods and handshakes, a silent acknowledgement of trust and camaraderie. Their presence was a reminder of the bonds formed in service, the loyalty and dedication that extended beyond distant missions to this quiet suburban street. It was a rare and powerful feeling, knowing that these individuals, trained for the most dangerous situations, were here for him and his family. The neighbors, realizing the gravity of the situation, began to retreat. Their mockery vanished, replaced by hurried steps and whispered apologies that went unnoticed. Some tried to hide behind fences or cars, but the commanding presence of the SEALs and the calm authority of the soldier made it clear that no further disruptions would be tolerated. The yard, once tense, now exuded a renewed sense of security and control. The family could finally breathe, the weight of worry lifted by the arrival of allies who understood the soldier's strength and courage. The soldier turned back to his family, giving them a reassuring smile. He knelt down to the children, who now clung to his arms with trust and admiration. "See, everything is okay now," he said gently. "We are safe and we are together. Nothing can harm us." The children nodded, their eyes wide with wonder and relief. The parents felt a deep gratitude, not only for the protection but for the way the soldier had handled everything with patience and dignity. They realized that bravery was not always loud or aggressive. Sometimes it was quiet, steady, and unwavering. The SEALs remained for a short while, ensuring the area was secure and that the family could continue their celebration without further disturbance. Their presence was a silent reassurance, a living shield that allowed the soldier to relax, if only slightly, and focus fully on his family. Conversations resumed, laughter returned, and the children began to play once again, though now with an added sense of safety and wonder. The soldier's calm authority, combined with the support of his comrades, transformed the yard back into a place of joy and unity. The family shared a quiet moment together, standing close, holding hands and exchanging smiles. The soldier's father whispered words of pride, acknowledging the way his child had handled the situation with strength and dignity. The mother smiled, tears of relief in her eyes, grateful for the protection and guidance the soldier had provided. The children, sensing the love and security around them, resumed their games with laughter that was freer and more genuine than before. The neighbors, now at a safe distance, could only watch as the family continued their gathering. Their previous attempts at disruption had failed completely, and the soldiers' composed response, combined with the timely arrival of the SEALs, had made it clear that the family's unity and safety were unshakable. The yard, once a place of potential conflict, had been restored to a space of joy, laughter, and togetherness. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the family gathered around the table once more, sharing food and stories. The soldiers' parents expressed their pride and gratitude, while the children asked questions about the SEALs, fascinated by the discipline and bravery they represented. The soldier answered carefully, explaining that courage was not only about fighting battles far away but also about protecting loved ones and standing firm when faced with disrespect. The lesson was subtle but powerful, leaving a lasting impression on everyone present. The day ended with a sense of completion and peace. The soldier stood quietly watching his family, feeling the strength and love that surrounded him. The SEALs, understanding that their presence was no longer needed, gave a final nod and quietly departed, leaving the family with a renewed sense of security and unity. The soldier knew that the day's events would be remembered, not for the tension or the mockery, but for the courage, loyalty, and love. The family hugged one another tightly, grateful for the protection, guidance, and bravery that had turned a challenging day into a powerful lesson in strength and unity. The soldier's calm and disciplined response, combined with the timely arrival of his comrades, had preserved the joy of the reunion and created a memory that would last a lifetime. The children played once more, laughter echoing into the evening, a reminder that even in the face of adversity, love and courage could prevail. The night had fallen gently over the neighborhood, and the yard was bathed in the soft glow of porch lights and the fading colors of twilight. The air was cool but comfortable, carrying with it the faint smell of dinner and the earthy scent of the garden. The family had gathered once again around the table, sharing food, stories, and laughter. The tension from earlier in the day had vanished, replaced by a sense of relief, unity, and pride. The soldier, still in his uniform, sat quietly among them, observing the faces of those he loved most. He felt a deep satisfaction knowing that he had protected them and preserved the joy of this long-awaited reunion. The children, their eyes wide with curiosity and excitement, recounted every detail of the afternoon, from their games to the small moments when the seals had arrived. They asked questions about the soldiers, about their training and how they had come to be there. The soldier answered each question with patience, keeping his explanations simple and appropriate for their age. He wanted them to understand the value of loyalty, courage, and unity without instilling fear. His answers were honest but gentle, offering lessons in bravery that could be applied in everyday life. His parents watched him closely, their hearts swelling with pride. They spoke softly to one another, acknowledging the way he had handled the day's challenges. They understood that the strength he displayed was not just physical, but emotional and moral. It was the quiet courage of a person who knew how to face adversity without losing control, who could protect and guide those he loved while maintaining dignity. The parents felt immense gratitude, knowing that their child had grown into someone capable of extraordinary strength and leadership. As the evening progressed, the family began to relax fully. The children resumed their play, building small forts with blankets and chairs and inviting the soldier to join them. He laughed and participated, creating imaginative stories and adventures that made the children's eyes sparkle. Their laughter filled the yard once more, a pure and contagious sound that erased the shadows of tension that had lingered earlier. The soldier felt a deep connection to these moments, knowing that these simple joys were the foundation of the life he had been protecting. The parents joined in as well, sharing stories of their own childhood and family memories. The conversation flowed naturally, full of warmth, laughter, and gentle teasing. The soldier observed them, appreciating the small details. The way his mother's eyes crinkled with a smile, the way his father's laughter resonated with quiet strength. He realized that these moments, simple yet profound, were the very essence of why he fought to protect life and love. They were worth every challenge, every hardship endured away from home. As the night deepened, the soldier took a moment to reflect on the events of the day. The tension caused by the neighbor's mockery had been a test, a reminder that challenges were not always faced in distant lands or dangerous missions. Sometimes they arose close to home in everyday life and required patience, courage, and integrity to navigate. He had managed to protect his family without aggression, demonstrating that true strength often came from calm, measured actions rather than force. This realization reinforced his belief in the values he had cultivated throughout his life and military service. The children, sensing a moment of calm, gathered around the soldier and asked him to tell one of his adventure stories. He obliged, weaving a tale that was exciting but safe, filled with lessons of teamwork, bravery, and compassion. The children listened intently, hanging on every word, their imaginations soaring. Through his storytelling, the soldier was able to impart wisdom, teaching them that courage was not about being the loudest or the strongest, but about standing firm for what was right and protecting those who could not protect themselves. The family shared quiet smiles and gentle touches, feeling the bond between them strengthened by the events of the day. The soldier's parents expressed their gratitude in small ways, verbal and nonverbal, acknowledging his leadership and protective presence. The children hugged him, their innocence and trust a reminder of the responsibility he carried and the impact of his actions. Each embrace reinforced the lesson that courage, patience, and love could coexist, creating a safe and nurturing environment even in the face of negativity. The neighbors, now distant and quiet, faded into the background, unable to disturb the family's peace. The soldier had demonstrated that respect and authority could be earned through calm strength and integrity, rather than intimidation or aggression. The lesson was clear not only to the family but also to the wider neighborhood. Actions rooted in love, courage, and dignity carry far more weight than words meant to belittle or provoke. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, the family gathered one last time around the table, sharing dessert and warm drinks. The soldier's mother looked at him with pride and relief, while his father nodded silently, a deep understanding passing between them. The children, tired but happy, nestled close to their parents and the soldier, feeling the safety and warmth that had been established throughout the day. Every smile, every laugh, and every word shared was a testament to the family's resilience and the soldier's unwavering presence. The soldier reflected quietly, feeling a profound sense of fulfillment. He had not only returned home, but had also ensured that his family's reunion was preserved, untainted by the cruelty of others. His actions had taught lessons in bravery, patience, and integrity, not only for his children and siblings but for himself as well. He understood that the measure of courage was not just in distant battles but in everyday moments, in protecting those we love and in standing firm without causing harm. The night grew deeper, and the yard became peaceful, the only sounds the soft hum of the evening and the occasional laughter of children at play. The soldier stood quietly, watching his family, feeling a deep connection that was stronger than any fear or mockery they had faced earlier. The family hugged and laughed, sharing stories and creating memories that would last a lifetime. The soldier's heart was full, knowing that his dedication, patience, and strength had created a safe, loving, and joyful environment for those he cared for most. As the family slowly made their way inside, the soldier followed, carrying the sense of pride and fulfillment that comes from protecting and nurturing those we love. The night had been a journey from tension to relief, from fear to joy, and from mockery to respect. The lessons learned would remain with them all. That courage is measured in patience, that love is strongest when protection is combined with dignity, and that unity within a family can overcome any challenge. The soldier looked at his family one last time before the door closed, knowing that together they had faced adversity, stood strong, and created a memory of love, bravery, and resilience that would never be forgotten.